The joy of pregnancy is one of the most exciting times for expecting mothers. Celebrated with love and support from family and friends. However, for Black women, it could be a nightmare. Doctors not listening to Black moms, inadequate prenatal care, and racial bias against Black moms has placed Black moms at an all-time high in maternal mortality.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the documentary presented by the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Southern New Jersey chapter, centering Black mothers' birthing experience, entitled Listen to Black Mamas. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Southern New Jersey chapter advocates on behalf of Black women and girls to promote leadership development and gender equity in the areas of health, education, and economic empowerment. The U.S. maternal mortality rate, already high compared to wealthy countries, has increased, with Black women faring far worse than white women. Although Black women make up 13% of the United States population of women, they are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than white women, who make up 60% of the population. According to the CDC, the maternal mortality rate for non-Hispanic Black women was 55 deaths per 100,000 live births, almost 3 times the rate for non-Hispanic white women. Rates for non-Hispanic Black women were significantly higher than rates for non-Hispanic white and Hispanic women. Currently, New Jersey is ranked 47th in the nation for maternal deaths and has one of the widest racial disparities for both maternal and infant mortality. A Black woman in New Jersey is 7 times more likely than a white woman to die from maternity-related complications, and a Black baby is over 3 times more likely than a white baby to die before their first birthday. For Black women, the maternal health situation is dire. Notably, Black women were 3 to 4 times more likely than white women to die from pregnancy-related causes. Preeclampsia, eclampsia, and embolism were the leading underlying causes of death among Black women. The health inequities are stark and exist across educational and socioeconomic factors. For instance, Black women with at least a college degree had a higher severe complication rate than women of other races and ethnicities who never graduated high school. What are the causes of the increase in Black maternal mortality? One notable cause to the increase in Black maternal mortality was COVID-19. Global maternal and fetal outcomes worsened during the pandemic, with more maternal deaths, stillbirths, ruptured ectopic pregnancies, and maternal depression. Disruptions to the healthcare system and less health-seeking behaviors may have contributed to these outcomes. But COVID-19 is a recent issue. The prevailing issue that impacts Black maternal mortality is institutional racism and discrimination from the healthcare system. Doctors and medical professionals are both unconsciously biased and overtly racist, and that contributes to racial disparities in mortality rates. Practitioners believe that experiences of discrimination and racism have a weathering effect on the body. Chronic stress and trauma due to discrimination that occurs as early as in utero and early childhood have been associated with poor health outcomes and early death as an adult. Black mothers carry their racist and discriminatory experiences in their bodies, which result in an adverse effect on their lives and the lives of the babies that they are carrying. Today we are joined by Jaye Wilson, who is the founder of the New Jersey-based Melinated Moms, a community-based company in New Jersey and Western New York that aims to create space for women who feel unseen and unheard and dismantle the barriers associated with motherhood. Jaye brings with her a doula, and they will share their birthing experiences with us. We hope that the birthing community listens to Black mamas and works collectively to address the issues that impact Black maternal mortality.
Jaye Wilson, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about your birthing story?
Yeah. Oh man. So, I've had 4 pregnancies. 2 of them resulted in loss. I have 2 young girls. My girls are 13 and 10. So I'll tell you the story about my oldest daughter,
Sure.
Nadia. When I was pregnant with her, I had severe preeclampsia. I was in the hospital probably 3 of the 9 months due to hypertensive crisis. I had hyperemesis. It was just terrible. It's the worst. But throughout the entire pregnancy, I just had so much negativity given to me by my doctors, just saying, you know, this pregnancy is really terrible on your body. Why don't you just scrap it? Let's try again. Do another one, you know? And I'm like, you know, I've already had 2 losses. This baby means something. This is not a piece of clothing or a pair of shoes. This is a life that I really have been praying for. So, you know, I'm a woman of faith, and I believe that God gives you these opportunities to really show up and show out for your babies, you know? So I kept telling the doctors, God told me, as long as I have the faith of a mustard seed, that I'm gonna get the desires of my heart. So I persevered, and I kept pushing, and I kept pushing back. I said, nope, we're gonna get to the end. We're gonna give birth to this little baby, and that's what we're gonna do, you know? And thank God, 37 weeks, 1 day, I gave birth to my daughter. Not without her definitely trying to give me a run for my money. I was in my NST appointment, and I actually went blind in my left eye.
Okay.
I called the nurse in, and I said, I can't see anything on this side. And outside of all of this, I'm also a nurse. So I've been a nurse for almost 20 years. And at the time, you know, I'm like, I'm not an OB nurse, but I understand what's happening to me, you know? So I tell the nurse, I need something. I can't see anything. So she's doing all these tests. She's like, yeah, nothing's happening. Your pupil's not dilating. We should probably get someone in here. I'm like, yeah, you should, you know? The doctor comes in, and she's like, I'm done with this pregnancy. Let's get you into labor and delivery. Let's get this baby out. She gave me magnesium. They did all of the things. Thankfully, they also let me labor. So 11 hours later, my daughter was born, and it was just the happiest day of my life. But it was also just so like nerve-wracking because, you know, I've given birth to babies that were not living. So to see my daughter and to see her breathing and to really be able to experience this whole cycle, it was just everything to me. So I was just so thankful. You know.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. As a Black woman first and a mother second, why is it important to use your voice during your birthing experience?
It is so important to use your voice during your birth, after your birth, even just remembering what your birth experiences were like so that you can share it with others. There are so many people that are so afraid to talk about these experiences due to ridicule or shame, just not even knowing that these are normal conversations that you can actually have to get support. So for me, it's important to continuously have these conversations and to encourage other moms and women and birthing people to know that this is a normalized space. You know, this is a safe space to share those feelings and to also ask for the support that you need. You know, as a Black woman, we're often, more than often, we are always told to be strong, to keep pushing on, to just push through it. But no one ever tells you how heavy it is to keep pushing without anyone being there to help you lift, you know? So
And then it's not realistic.
It's not.
That type of stamina is not realistic to keep pushing on and to be that strong Black woman. Did you have a village to provide you with support?
Actually, no, I didn't. But that actually was the catalyst that helped me start my organization, Melinated Moms. So for me, I was married, did the whole thing, and my ex-husband and I didn't work out. So I had to learn how to be a single solo mom. And with doing that, I looked for what does it mean to have a community of support behind me and my children. So I started hosting events. I started looking for other moms and asking them, what is it that you need, or what is it that you are offering in order to be a part of my support, and how can I also be of support to you? And you know, here we are 5 years later, and I'm just like, wow, this all started from just wanted to meet up with other moms, you know.
And that's how you started Melinated Moms.
That is.
Good. Thank you, because birthing people don't have that support.
Yeah.
And they don't know what they can do and what they can't do and the questions that they can ask. I remember in my birthing experience having questions, but knowing that my medical provider, even though I had a wonderful midwife, wasn't the person to ask my questions to.
Mm-hmm.
I needed someone that knew me
Yeah.
and knew how to answer my questions for me, specific to who I was.
Yeah.
So thank you for starting your organization.
Thank you.
What kind of conversations do you have with the women or the birthing people, either in your organization or outside of your organization, and in your family, about your birthing experience? What kind of conversations do you have?
Yeah. So I really do consider the women a part of my organization as family.
Okay.
Right? So I call them family, right?
Okay.
We have all kinds of conversations. Some of it is very serious and, you know, giving them more information about maternal mortality and morbidity, right? Giving them all of the statistics and the data that currently exists. But then a lot of things are light. It's really like, how do you deal with a screaming toddler? How do you find time so that you can have me time, right? Like, anybody who knows me, my favorite place is going to like the spa in Edgewater, and I'm there at least once a month. That is my me time. You know, I stopped myself from having that mommy guilt of needing to have space for myself. I know that I need that in order to be able to flourish for my children, right? So with the moms in my organization, we talk about that all the time. What does your me time look like? How does that help you build up the type of person that you want to be for your children, right? And it's just been able to expand so many other great conversations.
Great. Because one of the terms that we use now is self-care.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the me time. And I hear women of color, Indigenous women say that is privilege that I don't have.
Yeah.
And so thank you for role modeling that for the women in your organization. What is the one thing you learned through your experiences that changed your perspective and drove you to support women through their needs?
Yeah, that I'm not alone. That anything that I've gone through, it can be used as a stepping stone and a lesson. There's no L's, there's no losses, right? So me understanding the experiences of losing my children, that helped me to get the right mindset to help another mom or another birthing person who may have experienced it or, you know, may encounter a difficult pregnancy, right? It's so many things. It's just so many things that I think are just, I don't want to cry. Just so many things that are just very important with having conversations, with having safe spaces, with, sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It's a lot. Sorry. Can you ask the question again? I lost myself.
Sure. That is fine. What was the one thing you learned through your birthing experience that changed your perspective and that drove you to support other moms?
Yes.
And so I see it is very important for you to ensure that other moms have that experience. You know, I've told moms that your birthing experience is supposed to be absolutely dynamic. You are bringing life.
Yeah.
Right. And so I see that that's so very important to you. So thank you for your work.
I've learned from the moms that I've supported how to be of a better type of support to them, you know. So
service.
Yes, absolutely. So the one thing I've learned is to listen. You know, I can give so much. I know I'm very knowledgeable and I have so much that I can give, but in order to be a good leader, in order to be a good thought partner, you have to also know how to listen and listen to the needs of the people who are asking you for support, you know. I think we often have a lot of these spaces of very well-intended organizations that want to help communities of color, underserved communities, marginalized, however you want to address it.
However you want to describe us.
Right. But if they're not listening to the actual people who are in need, they're really doing a disservice, right? So that is the biggest lesson that I've learned, is how to put my listening ears on and be able to deliver what my community is asking for.
How do you get moms there, right, to use their voice, to advocate for themselves? How do you get them there? Because one of the things that happens is we think that our healthcare provider, even though we're not happy, we have no place else to go, right? That's the place we have to stay. So what are some of the things that you do at Melinated Moms, or even in your own personal world, that helps moms get their voice and use it?
Yeah, so many different ways. So when the pandemic hit, that was a huge blow for us. And I had to learn how to really pivot the type of support that we were offering, because previous to the pandemic, we were doing everything in person, right? So when the pandemic hit, we had to completely go virtual. When we went fully virtual, we saw a huge increase of moms and women and birthing people, literally a 200% increase. Wow. Women from all over the country, women from outside of the U.S. saying that you're actually speaking to what it is that I need. You are the community I've been searching for, right? So seeing that and seeing how powerful that was, like, okay, we have to be very intentional with what we're doing and how we're delivering it. So again, we ask them, how do we meet the needs of what you of what you need or what you're in search of? So we've done a couple of things. One, we host different workshops where we're addressing specific topics that women will ask for resources for. We've also partnered with different organizations, creating great strategic partnerships. We're doing things like this, right? And I also authored a book called Find Your Roar, which we turned into an advocacy training. And to date, we've already trained over 1,000 people just this year to learn how to utilize their voice and really understand how powerful it is to say what you need to the people who can create those levels of change. So that's from your local government all the way up to, you know, big state and federal government.
Big P and little p.
Yeah.
So if you had to give moms, birthing people, one piece of advice on how to find your roar, what would that one be?
Don't be afraid of your message.
Okay.
It's so powerful, and you have no idea how many people you will change by just opening your mouth and speaking your truth. There's so many things that I keep on the inside of my heart that have just changed the way that I've been able to interact with my children, the way that I've been able to empower other moms. Even I've had one experience where a mom asked me to serve as her doula for her birth, and it gave me such an eye-opening experience, because as a nurse, you know, I know all the technical things that's happening, but it gave me such a humbling experience to learn the importance of how doulas support these birthing women from that emotional space. And I was just like, oh my God, this is something different. You know, this is a completely different space that I'm so honored to even have the opportunity to ask to be a part of, right? And now I know that that young lady that I was able to accompany, she's had a birthing experience that she'll never forget. Not just because I was there, but because she was listened to. And I was able to advocate for things that she never even knew were possible, you know? And she had several other children prior too. So she said, you know, I appreciate you being here for me and understanding why I needed you, you know, instead of just the hoopla of what the birthing procedure was, because it wasn't an experience for her.
It's not a business.
Right.
For the birthing person, it's not a business.
Right.
It is personal. For the other people in the room, it's a business.
Right. So I was so glad to be able to humanize that experience for her, and also to talk to the medical providers and the other people that were part of that team to let them know, I'm not here to take your place. I'm here as an integrated partner, and I want this mom to also be a part of the care that you guys are providing for her.
Sure. What's one thing you would say to birthing people today to make them feel good, make them relax, and feel empowered to enter into the next phase?
Everything you say can change the world. Everything. Every single thing that comes out your mouth can change the world. So if people have more like mindfulness around how to speak with intention, they will absolutely see how powerful that statement is. So everything you say can literally change the world. If you go out and you say, I want to be a doctor, you put forth the effort, you look into all the things that you need to do that, you find the support. Those are those stepping stones that you need to speak with intention, but to also manifest the greatness that you are speaking, right? So just know how powerful those words can actually be, and you have the ability to speak life or death into anything that you want to do.
Thank you very much, Jaye.
Yeah, thank you.
Danica LaFortune is a wife and mom of 3. She previously worked as a program co-director, community health worker supervisor, and community doula for SPAN's Sister-to-Sister Community Doulas of Essex County. She's trained as a birth doula through Doula International and certified as a full-spectrum doula with Uzazi Village. She is also a paid leave leader alum, advocating for continued paid leave benefits in the state of New Jersey. Danica completed the Community Health Workers course through the New Jersey Department of Health, Colette Lamont Gallet Community Health Worker Institute. Community is especially important to Danica and is the heart of her work as a doula and community health worker. Danica has strong passion for working with Black and brown women in her community, serving as a maternal child health advocate and resource. Her own experiences with pregnancy and health inequities led her to become a doula and a woman who uplifts and empowers others. She is also the co-owner of Labor of Love Holistic Doula Care.
Danica LaFortune, can you tell me a little bit about your birthing experience?
Sure. So I have 3 living children, 2 boys and a girl. I also lost a son in 2015 to stillbirth at 28 weeks. So I'm going to share that birth experience.
Sure.
I wasn't expecting that pregnancy, but from the beginning, something just didn't feel, as a mother, you kind of just have these instincts. Something just didn't feel right. I didn't feel comfortable in that pregnancy from the beginning. And then I just experienced a lot of anxiety, just within myself. I said, like I was saying, I know something's not right. And the first time I went to the doctor, I kind of expressed these things. I also have like a history of loss. So I expressed that with him as well. I expressed my concerns about a certain medication that I took with my previous pregnancy in the beginning. I asked him, could I take that? Dismissed me about it. So my experience with that provider was not pleasant. Needless to say, I did ask to see a different provider at that location. But then I did find out that something was wrong with the baby. There was something wrong with his heart. They weren't sure if he would make it. And if he did make it, they said that he would probably have to have a lot of surgeries just to survive. They offered me to terminate early on as an option, and I didn't want to do that. I just wanted God's will to be done for me, and I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. So I didn't, and I continued with the pregnancy, and every doctor's appointment was filled with anxiety and filled with negativity, and just wasn't an experience that I would want during my pregnancy. At about maybe 10 weeks, it was 10 weeks, they did see that there was a chromosome abnormality, which was, that was causing the heart complication. So again, we continued with the pregnancy. We went to genetic counseling, again, just full of anxiety. And then at 28 weeks, at that time I was going for weekly ultrasounds. So at 28 weeks, I went for my ultrasound, 28 weeks on the day, went for my ultrasound like I normally did. She came in and out very fast. And so I'm like, oh, maybe this is a good one today because, she saw what she needed to see. Next thing I know, the doctor came right in, and I never saw the doctor that fast. I was always having to wait to see the doctor, but he came right in and said that there was no heartbeat. So, oh my goodness, that was 2015. From that experience, that kind of led me to become a doula. But in that experience, I could truly feel the inequalities in our systems, in our healthcare systems, just with doctors not listening to us. I especially remember the day, I can see it as clear as ever, sitting on the table, and I was telling this doctor, I have a history of loss. I took this medication with my other pregnancy. Is it okay for me to start taking it now? And he completely dismissed me. Not the first time, but during this particular situation, it was devastating. So that is, a part of my birth journey. I have had 10 pregnancies, and like I said, I have 3 living children. So I have a lot of experience between C-sections, vaginal deliveries, stillbirth, miscarriages, ectopic pregnancy. So just me and my experiences, I feel, not that I'm not the expert in pregnancy, but I know how it is to feel unheard. I know how it is to experience loss and can't even express it. I know how it is to have to stuff the loss because you're a mother and you still have to deal with your other children or your husband or whatever the case may be, and put yourself on the back burner. I know how it feels to be depressed because of all these things. So that's a birth experience that I generally share because that led me into my birth work.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. There's oftentimes not space for us to express who we are and to have an experience. We have to do so many other things as a mom. So as a Black woman first and a mother second, why is it important for you to use your voice during your birthing experience?
My goodness. First of all, just because of the state that we live in New Jersey. Nationwide, Black women are dying 3 to 4 times more likely, more than their white counterparts.
Sure.
But particularly in New Jersey, 7 times more. And that is a problem. So, just part of my advocacy in being a doula is making sure that moms have the space, like you said. You have to have the space. You have to have the ability to be vulnerable, right? And you can only do that if you feel comfortable and you have the space and you know that there are people that actually want to hear you, right? That actually want to know what you're feeling and what you're going through. So we don't even create these spaces for our Black women
Exactly.
to even express themselves. What do we expect?
Right.
What are we looking for? So particularly in our state, it's so important that we allow these women to have these voices, because my story, I've shared my story so many times. Sometimes I'm sharing it like this, and sometimes I'm sharing it with tears. But I have heard from women who said me sharing my story and my experiences helped them.
Sure.
Because they have gone through the same thing, but maybe didn't have the voice or didn't have the courage or didn't feel the need to even say anything about their experiences. So that to me is important, that we give them the space. We have to allow space for women to feel empowered. Yes, this is what happened, or yes, this is what I experienced. No, it's not right. Yes, I have something to say about it. Yes, I want to affect change. So we have to give the space for women to be themselves, for them to be vulnerable, for them to express what they need to.
Thank you. What kind of conversations have you had with other women in your family about your history, your birthing history?
Not much. Not much at all.
That's that silence?
Yeah, for the most part. I did not grow up with family around me. My mother is actually from Hawaii. My father is from down south. They met in the military, so I have no family here. They moved to New Jersey. Why? I don't know. But here I am, born and raised in Jersey, but I never was raised with my grandmothers, either one of them.
Okay.
Aunts. It's literally me and my parents. I'm an only child as well. So I heard bits and pieces of my birth story from my mom, but it was never the full story or what she really felt or how she even felt after, right? We forget about that too. How do I feel after this birth? My postpartum, what did that look like? So I didn't have really that much stories from anyone, at least from my family.
So there was never a group of women,
No.
of aunties sitting around the table having a conversation and sharing their experiences with you?
No, I didn't have that.
And what about girlfriends? Did your
Girlfriends,
girls
yes.
do it?
My
Okay.
girls, yes. But actually family,
No,
I didn't
no
have
family.
that. No.
What is the one thing about your birthing experience that changed your perspective to support other women? Your lead into being a doula.
So, like I said, part of my story, with that loss. Like I said, I've had other losses, but just knowing that women need that support. We were never meant to do this alone. Can we do this alone? Of course we can do it alone. We were never meant to do this alone.
Right.
we were meant to be a village. We were meant to give our sisters support. We were meant to be the encouragers. We were meant to be the supporters, because that's just what we do. That's sisterhood, right? That's the village. So, you know, just making sure that we, again, it's just giving space and allowing people to be who they are. We have to allow people to be who they are, where they are, meet them where they are. So again, with my experiences, I just felt like there are women out here who need to be heard, who need to be supported. When I found out what a doula was, I had heard about it, you know, still kind of got it mixed up with midwifery, which a lot of people do. We're not midwives. We don't do anything clinical. But when I found out what they actually do, I'm naturally an encourager. I'm naturally just a caregiver, a supporter, naturally. That's my nature. So when I found out what they actually do, I said, oh, this is what I need to do. That's what I need to do. That's part of my story now.
Sure.
So I found out what I needed to be a certified doula, and I did it.
And thank you for clearing that up, because a lot of people do think
Yes.
that a doula and a midwife are the same thing. Sometimes even midwives think that there's competition between midwives and doulas.
Yes.
So thank you for even making that statement. I see, you know, in some movies where there's indigenous people, right, indigenous women, and one of them are birthing, and the room is full.
The room is full.
Right? The room is full of support, of other women that have had the experience, of, you know, it's like a cheer squad. You know, you can do this, and every other woman has done it. And I remember my birthing story, you know, my clinician, my midwife saying, you got two people that can come in the labor room with you two. And I was like, well, I need space to sweat. And hearing, oh, it'll be distracting. And I was like, I don't think so. The end point's going to be the same. You know, there's going to be a baby from this. And so I had to choose the two people, knowing that I wanted to have a cheer squad. How has your story changed your future as a maternal health advocate?
Wow. So I started my journey, like I said, as a doula. I became a community doula in 2018. I then became a community health worker with the program that I was a doula for in 2019. I then became the co-director for that program at the beginning of this year. Sadly, our program ended, but now I am moving forward to do work that's supporting doulas.
Okay.
So since I had a daughter in 2020, and I just don't do birth work anymore. I just can't drop in the middle of the night and go to a birth. So I'm doing postpartum work. So I struggled a lot after I had my daughter, because I said, I call myself a doula. I'm not doing the work. I'm not even doing the work.
Right.
You know? But I found that my place in doula care is the advocacy, is the education, is the spreading the word. So that's what I'm doing right now. And that is a big part of my new professional role. I actually have a career in doing this. How amazing is that?
Yeah.
That I actually get paid to do the work that I love to do. So like I said, moving forward in the future for me, I see a lot of work for the doulas themselves, because, you know, everyone wants a doula. Oh, that's the new fad now. You know, I have a doula. Not knowing how really, really beneficial doulas are, especially, again, for our Black and brown women, our indigenous women, particularly within our state.
Something you said as we're educating people around doulas and what they are and what's their role, and you mentioned postpartum doula. So please tell me what a postpartum doula is.
So a postpartum doula is a doula that works with a woman after she has the baby. A lot of people know of birth doulas because you want to, you know, get baby here safely. We're working to make sure that mom is safe and baby is safe, and that's great. But we're losing the women postpartumly. So postpartumly is longer than a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Postpartum looks like a year out.
Okay.
So that within that first year after baby is born is where statistically, when we say we're losing our women, that is during that whole entire time period.
Okay.
So postpartum care, a postpartum doula is making sure that that woman takes care of herself as well as she's taking care of that baby, that she listens to the cues of her body. If something is wrong, we're making sure that if that's a headache, okay, that's great. How long have you had that headache? What are you doing just to make sure that she's checking in with herself? Because, you know, as a mom, we're worried about the baby. We're worried, you know, am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? And we don't take care of ourselves. So a postpartum doula is specifically for the mom. I mean, if she needs stuff for the baby, of course, whatever she needs in the house. But it's to make sure that that mom doesn't die.
Okay.
is to make sure that that mom is taking care of herself.
Good. Thank you for that. Many people don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
That there's a birthing and then a postpartum, and that there's cues that they need to look for in their own health
Yes.
to ensure that they survive.
Yes.
Right? Because you're so consumed. And that whole sleeping when the baby sleeps,
Yeah.
that's a really great sentiment. It's accurate, but there's still no time for that either. Because
Yes,
then there's
realistically.
clothing, there's cooking, there's other things. And if the support's not there, the village hasn't been developed.
Yes, you're right.
Describe an experience where your voice was dismissed. And you talked about that you wanted to take a particular medication and that and that it was dismissed. What did you feel about that dismissal?
I felt angry.
Okay.
I felt very angry. Like, who are you to tell me about my body or what I feel or what I think I might need?
Okay.
So I felt very angry, as I'm sure a lot of women do when they are dismissed or they're, and they're in a medical space and they're not listened to. I was very angry. I was hurt, especially because, the way that things turned out with this pregnancy. But in that initial, I was very angry.
So I want to go back to something you said. You were angry that you were dismissed, and you switched providers within the same practice. So I want to first say congratulations, right? Because we often think, and particularly depending upon what type of insurance you have, that you get to your healthcare provider, it's the only provider you can have, you got to keep the provider and be treated any kind of way. And so I want to give you recognition for moving providers. Right. It's allowable.
It's allowable.
Right? And even though they say, oh, you should move week 30, whatever, if you are not treated well at your provider, do the work, find a provider, and move.
Yes. Do the work.
Another provider will take you.
Yes.
But there's also a piece that I want to bring people's attention to is before pregnancy, which sometimes it means that might be some planning. Choose a provider that matches you and interview your provider in the same way that we interview our cell phone provider. When we're looking for a car, we go to different
do
car
the research,
lots,
we do the work, like you said.
Right, you do the work. And so when we're looking at any of our healthcare providers, we can do the work and we can interview them. And if it does not feel right, even within our insurances, whether it's public or private, you can still move around to make sure you're treated well because our health is that important, right?
Yes.
And so that's the lead in for my question is, how can we empower women and empower moms to use their voice during their birthing experience? How can we do that?
So a big part of that is education. You can only do what you know. If you don't know, how can you do it, right? So a big part of that, and that's what I play a role as well, is education. We have to let these women and moms know that it's okay to change providers, even if because I was in a clinic setting, I had public insurance, and it's okay to still voice your opinion and change your providers. You still have that right. So educating them on, what their rights are, knowing that they have the right to change their mind if they feel that they're not getting the care that they deserve. Someone brought that to my attention before. We deserve this care. It's not something that we should be taken lightly. I deserve to have a good doctor. I deserve to feel safe in my doctor's office. I deserve to feel listened to. So if I don't have that with this certain doctor or provider, I have the right, and I can find somebody else.
Say that piece, you deserve.
I deserve good care.
Yeah.
I deserve quality care. I deserve to be listened to. I deserve that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, Jaye and Danica, we had a wonderful conversation today talking about your experiences birthing, and doula, birthing support, Black maternal mortality. So talk to us about the role that racism and discrimination played in the treatment and the experiences that you had from your healthcare providers.
Yeah. I know for me, when I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, I remember walking into the doctor's office and, you know, checking in, getting ready to go to see my doctor. And like clockwork, more than one occasion, different receptionists have asked me, are you in the right place? Are you sure this is the clinic you're supposed to be in? I'm like, well, why wouldn't I be? I've been seeing this doctor for the last 6 months, you know? Oh, well, you know, the Medicaid clinic is over here. Or, well, what kind of insurance is that? Are you sure this is the right space? And I would challenge them and ask them, what does it look like to be a Medicaid recipient or someone who you feel does not belong in this clinic or this practice, you know? And I will always get silence. So for me, it was like a very glaring example of how you judged me and how you thought I was in a place that I did not belong simply because I don't look like you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And for me, as someone, like I said, I was in that clinic space. I did have the Medicaid coverage, right? That was my part of my story with my loss. And even in that, it's like, get it treated less than because this is what I have. And like I said, I deserve good care. Doesn't matter my insurance, doesn't matter my status right now.
Exactly.
Because that was my status at that time.
Yeah.
But getting treated just less than, very rushed. Again, like I said, my opinions, my thoughts, my needs, my wants, my desires, it didn't matter. No, this is you, so you stay over there on this side and you just take what we give you, pretty much, basically is what it is, you know, because if you need this care, even with switching the doctors in that same clinic, she was great though, but still, just the whole politics of it. Okay, I know that when I go here, I have to spend all day here. So I know that when I have an appointment, I cannot expect to be back to work or be back home or be back where I needed to be in any less than 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours.
Wow.
Why?
That's excessive.
That's very excessive. Every time. Why? So just from the other part of it, just experiencing that, as like I said, as someone who needed the assistance and just being treated less than.
It's like they try to justify treating you less than because of what they assume your circumstances are because you receive Medicaid or you receive any other type of assistance, right? So I totally understand.
Even with that, I was serving a mom as her doula. She actually is my sister doula, and so I became her doula. Married, this was her 3rd child. She was so just headstrong about wanting to make sure, even though her wedding rings couldn't fit, she wanted to make sure that she had a ring on her finger so that they knew, okay, I'm not just someone's baby mother. Like, I'm here with my husband, who is the father of all of my children. So that was one of her things that she actually had on her birth plan. I need to make sure that I am wearing my ring so that they don't think, you know, I'm just out here. This is my 3rd child. This is my 3rd baby, you know, baby's father.
I had that experience actually when I was pregnant with my oldest child. They asked me to bring my marriage license to prove that I was married. It's like, who is lying to you, and why does that even matter? How does that justify the type of care I'm supposed to receive by showing you a piece of paper that validates my marriage?
And where was that on the intake form?
At all.
Right.
And what
Proof
other
of marital status?
Right. And what other communities do you ask that same question to?
Absolutely.
And like you said, what does it matter?
No, it never does.
And one of the things we spoke about earlier is that you carry this and we carry that discrimination, that bias in our bodies, and it impacts us, and it impacts the baby that we're carrying. And I wish that healthcare providers understood that, you know, that these experiences that we're having impact the health and the well-being of our baby. One of the things, Jay, you spoke about is you have conversations and focus group conversations with some women at your agency and Melinated moms. What was one question that really stood out to you because the answer was so incredibly startling?
Yeah. I like what you just did there. So we held a focus group and we asked the moms how would they rate their experience with birth on a scale of 1 to 5. The majority of the moms said, they had a 5 experience. It was great. And when I asked them, what made it this wonderful, stellar experience, they said, I survived. And it scares me to think that is the bar where women are thinking that that means that you had a great experience
Right.
because you actually got
You
to
lived.
live.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
we're
And
supposed to survive.
That's not supposed to be the exception.
No.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the norm.
The norm,
That
the
you
standard.
survive
Yes.
is the norm.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
so we don't even have individual evaluation for that healthcare or that experience of birthing and pregnancy and labor and delivery other than I walked out of the hospital.
Right.
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 So what do you say to moms when you hear that?
Well, first I validate them, and I help them to understand that their feelings are absolutely valid. They're not alone, and I give them that space to express themselves. You know, because most of the time when you're in these spaces, they try to shut you down. They gaslight you. They minimize and diminish who you are, what's important to you, your cultural practices, anything that helps to identify you as someone who is a unique individual having a unique experience. So I give them that space, right? But then I believe in find a resource and be a resource. So I want them to find the things that they need from me and from Melinated moms, but also become the resource that another mom needs in order to have those same feelings and to feel empowered.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What about you when you hear that in your doula practice that it just, you know, when you talk to moms about like a birthing plan, of which people don't even know that there's a such thing as a birthing plan, like you can plan how this labor and delivery, how this carrying a baby is supposed to be for birthing people. And when you hear like I just want to live, what does that do to you, and what is your response?
It triggers me because I know that feeling, you know, I know that feeling. I just want to make, even after having the baby, especially with my daughter that I had in 2020, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't dying after I had her. I remember clearly being out in the store one day. I had a C-section, so my husband made me sit in the little scooter thing. And all of a sudden, just panic rushed over me. And I was thinking, when I get up, I'm going to collapse. And I'm not going to make it. I was in Target. And this panic just washed over me, looking for pillows. I'm driving the cart, and I said, when I get up out of this cart, I'm going to collapse, and I'm not going to make it. So I speak from experience because I know that's real. Like Jay said, you have to validate these feelings. You have to validate this is some people's reality.
Yeah.
These are the facts. These are not stories that hearsay stories. No, these are real stories of real women that are continuing and continuing and continuing and continuing. So it's very important to validate. But again, you have to make sure that, you know, sometimes you just have to lead by example. You know, sometimes people don't know what strength looks like, or know that they can do it, or know that they can use their voice or have a voice until they see somebody else that went through a similar experience that can do it or have done it, and say, you know what? Let me grab you up.
Yes.
Let me pull you up, and we can do this together. You can do this. You have a voice. You deserve to be heard.
Right, and I love that so much. You deserve to be heard, and that's regardless of insurance status.
Yes.
That's regardless of income status or employment status. You deserve to be heard, and you deserve more than, oh my goodness, I just want to survive this this birthing. So my last question for this conversation, which we can do this for hours
All day.
easily, is your provider. And so I think people think once they make that selection of or not, whether they have the healthcare provider dictated to them by their insurance plan or policy, that if they're dissatisfied, it doesn't matter, they got to stay. Is that true?
No, absolutely not. You have the choice in every part of your birth, including your provider.
Absolutely.
And it actually serves you better to be able to build that relationship with the medical provider that understands the things that are important to you during and after your birth. So having those discussions, understanding the areas of how they practice, their C-section rates, their quality measures. Quality is huge for me, but looking at the hospitals that they're affiliated with to know how will this impact your experience. And if that provider does not align with what your values are, you are interviewing them. You can tell them, thank you, you are no longer needed.
Thank you, no.
Let me keep it moving, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that. And when you're doing that, you're also advocating, right? So a lot of people think about advocacy as a parent happens after you give birth, but it doesn't. It happens while you are actually pregnant. You're advocating for this little baby to come into a safe environment. You're eating different foods. You're changing your lifestyle. You're figuring out how you want your household to look and all of these other parameters so that that baby can come into the best situation possible. Why would you skimp on that with your medical provider, right? So advocate for the things that you need as that mother, as that birthing person, so that you can get to that other side and be able to experience it together.
Right. I don't think moms know that. Birthing people don't know that with the same vim and vigor that we advocate for, as I said this earlier, our cell phone plan, or you know, or whatever, you know, if you're at the store and you didn't get your 20% off, right? You're all in. You're all in at the cash register.
Yep.
And with that same energy, you can advocate for yourself with your healthcare provider.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. Especially as Black and brown women, we understand each other, right? We know when I say something, you know what I'm talking about. When I give an experience, most likely you know what I'm talking about. Right. And that can go with your doctor. If you don't feel comfortable with a provider because you might really literally feel that systematic racism firsthand. We know what's within the systems. We know what's within the comings and the goings and the ins and outs. We feel it. But when you actually literally feel it, please leave. Please exercise your right to choose a different provider. And I'm not saying that it's easy, because there are some providers that just say, you know, further along they might not want to take you. They just don't want to, you know, go through the hassle. So I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but it's possible. It's your right, and it's doable. And you keep going until you find someone that's better than the provider that you left. That's going to take care of you.
That's going to hear you,
and
right?
hear you,
and
not just hear, but listen.
And validate your experiences, right? And there may be another bus, and it might be another train stop. But you know, our birthing people and their babies that they're carrying is so incredibly worth it.
Yes. Yes.
So we talked about 3 things, right? We talked about healthcare and providers. We talked about intrinsic racism and implicit bias. And we also talked about birthing expectations, you know, and just want to live. So can we think about what a recommendation would be for one or all 3 of those, right? What can we tell the people that are listening to this documentary? You know, we talked about village and creating a village, and so what are we telling people that they can do? What are our recommendations? What's the takeaway?
Put your advocacy into action. Really learn more about your state. Here in New Jersey, you know, we have set a lot of precedents on both the negative and the positive side. We know that our birthing statistics for Black women are abysmal. We're 47 out of 50 for maternal mortality. However, we are learning how to change the narrative of that with the Nurture New Jersey plan, with putting more emphasis on creating quality measures, with looking at how other states who are faring way better than we are, looking at how we can adapt and be more innovative in delivering care. You know, so New Jersey has been able to learn from their mistakes, but also acknowledge that there's still much more for us to do. But they're also listening to the Black women who are experiencing this. You know, so for us, you know, I know the work that Melinated Moms has been able to do with the governors, the First Lady, and so many wonderful partners that we've been able to have these conversations in real time and then actually put the implementation into play immediately, right? So we want to keep that going. That is advocacy. Those things happened, those things changed because we used our voice, because we listened to the women as they were speaking, and because we asked them, what's the next step? How do we create something that is inclusive of what you need instead of just, oh, here's something.
Right.
You know, you cannot create a solution for people without including the people.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you.
And even with that, you know, if you don't have that voice, if you don't have that advocacy voice, or if you notice someone needs help, someone needs care, but they don't have the voice. Be the village.
Yes.
Be the village. Be the encourager. Be the uplifter. Be the sister that's pushing, has your hand on the back of your other. No, you can do it. No, it's okay. I'm right here. I'm right here. We're going to get through this. Be the encourager. Everyone plays a part. People think just because they're not pregnant or they're not a woman or they didn't just have a baby or they don't have any children that they can't play a role in this. No, everyone has a part to play. Yes. Everyone can play a part. So find your lane and play the part.
Everyone has a position in the village to support the family and the village moving forward.
Yes.
What's your one hope? What do you hope for?
Healthy babies, healthy moms. That's it.
What about you?
Yes. Not just healthy babies. Yes, we want the babies, but healthy moms.
Yeah.
Whole moms.
Yes.
Supported moms. Supported moms.
Thank you. The one thing I wish for as well is that we continue to listen to Black mamas.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Never stop listening.
Never stop listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Jaye Wilson and Doula Danica LaFortune for sharing your stories with us. Joining me now is the president of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Southern New Jersey chapter, Dr. Marguerite Hall. In New Jersey, there have been some efforts to decrease Black maternal mortality. On Maternal Health Awareness Day in 2019, First Lady Tammy Murphy launched Nurture New Jersey, which is a statewide awareness campaign committed to reducing maternal and infant mortality and ensuring equitable care among women and children of all races and ethnicities. So, Dr. Hall, what can we do? What is our call to action?
Thank you, Dr. Howard. Yes, there are things that you can do to decrease Black maternal mortality. Join Melinated Moms. Attend Melinated Moms programs like Find Your Roar advocacy training. Find groups like the National Coalition of 100 Black Women of Southern New Jersey and Melinated Moms that address issues like Black maternal health. Contact your local elected officials to determine how their platform addresses issues of Black maternal health. Thank you for watching, and remember to listen to Black mamas.